Hello, and thank you for tuning into this Fireside Chat, which is going to be a two-part mini-series. I'm Monique Ruiz, and today I'll have Phil Keefe, who is the VP of Product R&D here at Claritas. We're going to be discussing what we call Attribution 3.0. Claritas's attribution process has essentially been rebuilt from the ground up, and we thought we'd share with you why we did this, what this means, how it benefits the industry as a whole, and what's coming in the future. Even if you're not working with Claritas, this conversation will be one you want to stick around for because it can help you as you formulate questions to ask either your current measurement provider or a potential measurement partner that you're evaluating to work with. So now that you know what to expect over the next 15 minutes or so, we'll bring in Phil to answer a few questions about Attribution 3.0. Phil, hi, how are you?
Hey Monique, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So, you and I have collaborated on a few short videos before, but it's been quite some time. So, for anyone who's new around here, can you introduce yourself and give us a refresher of your role here at Claritas?
Yeah, absolutely. As you mentioned, I'm the Vice President of Product Research and Development. I've been in the measurement space for about 15 years. Roughly 5 of those years have been with Claritas, and I head up our company's, like I said, research and development for our measurement product suite. So that means identifying what to build, prototyping those, and then launching enhancements or new products or capabilities.
Awesome.
Those are my main focuses.
Excellent. So, jumping right into the questions, we've put out several materials from blogs to articles, podcasts, and more around measurement and attribution. But for those that are new to our thought leadership, what does measurement mean and where does attribution, which is the topic of today's fireside chat, kind of fit into that framework?
Yeah, it's a great question. The term measurement has a different meaning for different people. Depending on who you ask, it could mean marketing mix modeling, it can mean ad ratings, qualitative or brand effect studies, neuromarketing, match analysis. There's so many. So our definition is closest to the last one, the match analysis. Our our measurement suite consists of two main products. We've got attribution, which is the measure of the potential impact a brand's advertising has on consumers. And then the second is the household level incremental analysis, which is something that we refer to as campaign lift. And that identifies the consumer behaviors that would never have occurred in the absence of the campaign running. Now, these are complementary solutions. They're meant to be leveraged together by our clients. And we defined our product suite this way, or we define measurement this way for a few reasons. The first is that attribution addresses three critical components of measurement. It addresses identity resolution, the temporal proximity of all activity experienced by a consumer, as well as the changing preferences that a consumer may have toward a brand. Um, so, in order to determine the actual impact of that advertising has, these first need to be addressed. The second is that incremental analysis not only quantifies the success associated with a specific campaign, um, by measuring lift at a household level, it allows us to break that success down into component parts. And that's really crucial to the continual improvement of an advertiser's media plan. Because we determine, again, ad performance at the household level, it's easy to understand which audiences performed best, which creative or which ad placement drove response better than others. We can do things like understand the effectiveness of different reach and frequency strategies that are employed by the agencies. So the objective is to provide insights our clients can take immediate action on. And that's the
Mhm.
key thing there. It's one thing to understand how a campaign performed. It's another thing to understand what you can do to make it perform better.
Right. And we've been in the market of measurement and attribution solutions for years, and we've kind of seen the evolution firsthand, and we've been involved with making those changes. So I think our listeners would be interested to know more about how the product has changed and developed over time. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. It has evolved quite a bit over time. And I will say our measurement products are still evolving to this day. There, I think to understand the journey our solutions went through, probably best to just explain it as several milestones worth calling out in terms of measurements history within Claritas. So back in about 2017, 2018, we began a series of acquisitions that provided us with two components that were required for launching measurement. Um, those acquisitions provided us with an identity graph, which we sourced from several companies, and a basic attribution product. So this is when we officially launched our measurement capabilities. Then in 2019, we released the second generation of attribution, which addressed things like the ongoing data suppression that we were observing due to privacy concerns within the industry. We began to refine our podcast attribution product, as well as we developed weighting and projection, which allows us to present results that better reflect the impact among US consumers and not just among those that we capture within our graph. And that's really important for any vendor to make that distinction. Now, we're launching the third generation of attribution this month, and that's going to include several key advancements. The first is the introduction of algorithmic multi touch attribution, or MTA, which more accurately determines the impact of an individual channel or of an individual ad placement relative to the broader media plan. It also, another advancement is we're incorporating, as I mentioned earlier, a consumer's ongoing uh, preference toward a brand. So we look at the brand engagement over time and how that changes, and that gets cycled into what credit we give to attribution itself. And then we've also done an overhaul to the main attribution engine itself. So
Uh,
those are kind of three key developments that we're about to launch this month. So it's pretty exciting.
yeah, very exciting. And, despite Claritas kind of having been a leader in attribution, there are still challenges that clients are looking to us to solve, or that new industry regulations, which you kind of just mentioned, have created. So, can you share a little more about what those challenges are?
Absolutely. Just to take a step back, my job as my job in research and development is to continually look for areas of innovation,
Hmm.
ways that we can expand either the functionality of current products, or to expand the overall suite by introducing net new products. And innovation is seeded generally from three sources. The first is individual companies within the industry. So this is often clients sharing their feedback, or this might be clients requesting a solution that we don't currently offer. But this could also be an assessment of the competitive landscape, just
Hmm.
looking at what we do relative to our competitors, what's being done well, what's not being done well, and focusing on those areas. Another source will be just industry trends. So looking at what is currently changing in the industry, what are some of the headwinds or challenges that everyone faces, This could also be industry trends, could also be opportunities. So, are there new avenues that advertisers are reaching out to consumers in, and are those certain avenues that we can measure? So, looking at industry trends is critical to our development. And then the last source is going to be the internal product strategy that we're developing. So it's looking at our long-term product roadmap and determining where we want to be, not just in 6 months from now, but from in 1 year from now or in
Mhm.
5 years from now. So all three of those things seed our innovation.
Okay.
Now, to your question on some of the challenges, is some of the main challenges that we've experienced, that our clients have experienced as well, is how we handle, for example, data sourced from multiple internal and external processes. So this could be data that we source from our own data collection process, and we could be mixing that with data that we collect from advertisers on data that they collect among their customers that we use as performance metrics, and also potentially exposures from podcast partners. Now, when we mix all of that data together, you can't just put it all into a pot and stir it and expect it to make sense. There's a good chance that the data is processed differently and are left unaddressed. There could be a bias toward one single source
Mhm.
that may confound the results our clients get. Now, today we handle that through our manual attribution through our managed service team. And while we can do it accurately that way, this does lead to longer cycles in between client deliverables, which are never short enough.
Right.
We always strive for real time. And so that is one challenge that has been expressed, both internally and externally. Another one, another great example, honestly, that's something that is a universal challenge in the industry, is just the ongoing consumer privacy concerns. This is something we're seeing across many channels. We're seeing this for different types of identifiers, different platforms. It really is universal, and this is again not just a challenge that Claritas is facing, but everyone is. So this is one that we've been a challenge that we've been focusing on. We've put a lot of time into over the past year, and it's something that we are addressing with the launch of our next attribution product this month.
Yeah, I kind of want to talk about that a little bit. So, the conversation around consumer privacy, it has gotten much more intense in recent times. We've done a bunch of podcasts on it, a bunch of blogs on it. I'll try to link a couple in the description box. But there's been and there continues to be a lot of legislation around the topic. So, knowing that these have been challenges that we faced with our own products, how have we managed to find solutions that kind of comply with the regulations but don't compromise data quality?
Yeah, it's a great question. The first thing to mention is that this is an issue with identity resolution and not so much measurement. But the fact is that it does directly impact measurement. As I mentioned earlier, identity resolution is one of several key components to be able to measure the performance or the impact of advertising. So identity resolution is the core of this discussion. Now, how we've addressed it is by working on and launching the second generation of our identity graph, which is actually going to go live in tandem with our next gen attribution product. Now, the investments we made with our new graph, they're significant, and there's several of them. The first is that we've added additional nodes to our graph. So a node can be something like an email address or a cookie or an IP address. So we've added additional nodes to our graph, and those can be used not only to further establish a Claritas household by looking at the instances where multiple identifiers or multiple nodes are observed together. So it just creates a, um, a stronger set of signals to create a Claritas household. But it also brings with it a significant increase in the number of residential addresses that are associated with the Claritas household, which is key for our incremental lift analysis.
Mm-hmm.
We've also partnered with several companies to get more volume and more diversity of data in house. And we've also, with those partnering companies, we've used their data as multiple validation points for some of our algorithms. So we're able to determine a Claritas household and all of the connection points within those household and use some of our partners' data as validation points. And then lastly, we've created several truth sets which consist of tens of thousands of individual respondents. And those respondents help us based on the information they give us and then the information that we collect separately. We can use that to help tune our resolution methodology.
Okay.
So this not only addresses the data suppression that is widespread in the industry and is growing, but it also does significantly improve the accuracy and scale of our graph and ultimately the effective sample that we can use for both attribution and for incremental lift.
Okay. Awesome. So, all right, Phil, I think looking at the clock, it's kind of a good time to wind down the conversation, but let's end on an exciting note. So, what can we expect for the future for the next media attribution advancement?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot on our roadmap. There's a lot that we're always working on, but in terms of the next thing that we can see after this launch is going to be a uh, a few things. The first is we're going to be doing a lot of work around contextualizing our attribution and lift results. So we already do that today to a certain degree, but we're going to expand it significantly and be able to understand with much more breadth of insight the audiences that were not only reached by a campaign but also how they responded, and then also using that to inform clients and help them immediately target the best subsets of households for either that live campaign if there's still quite a bit of time left in the campaign and there's the ability to change the targeting strategy. It'll give clients the ability to do that, or it can inform future media buys. The other things that we're doing that are pretty exciting, just more broadly, if we want to talk a little bit outside of attribution, we are launching a new user interface or platform that clients will be able to access attribution and lift results for, and that's very exciting. We've seen some of the wireframes for that, and it's looking really great. And we're also investing quite a bit in automation, so automating um, data that we were getting from external partners, automating some of the internal processes that we have that ultimately are going to shorten the delivery time from data in to insights to the client. So it's going to be a lot of work, kind of the mechanics that are maybe less seen, but they will be felt by many of our clients. So a lot of exciting things coming in the next year or so.
Yeah, we'll make sure to keep everyone informed. So, stay tuned for potentially more fireside chats in the future.
That'd be great.
So, Phil, thanks again for joining me today to talk Attribution 3.0. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Monique, thanks so much for the time. Happy to be here.
Excellent. So, for those of you watching, I did mention at the very beginning of this conversation that this is going to be a two-part mini series. Our next fireside chat will be around identity graphs and our identity graph 2.0. So, stay tuned for that. And since this was fairly high level of a discussion, and there always seems to be questions that are sparked when we have these conversations, whether they're specific to your own business or just general to your industry, if that's the case and you do want to know more, we'll link some resources in the description box of this video. You can also contact us on our website, which we'll link at the bottom as well. We hope you found this fireside chat a valuable use of your time, and we'll see you soon for another one. Bye now.